My advice would be to not give up, because it's a long play. I wrote an article about this a few weeks ago, which is on our company blog, about this idea that you don't just plug and play culture. Anybody can have an idea, but there's a whole lot of elbow grease and heart that has to go into bringing culture focused initiatives, not just to life, but to ensure that they're consistent and really ceremonial. You've got to graft at them and commit for the longer term. You've got to, if there's an idea there, you've got to be willing to see it through, to own it, to get others on board, to make them stick, and also to don't get despondent if what you're doing isn't so well received in the wider community of work at first, because it can be like turning an oil tanker around. And that's sort of what I was referencing earlier when I was talking about the virtual high fives example. We'd get one or two a couple of years ago and a bit of an apathetic attitude, whereas today it's people are very switched on. They get a reminder, yes, that's important. I really want to say this about this person. I want that read out at the front of that presentation. I want to make sure that person is recognised. That's quite interesting, but it takes a while to get there. So don't give up. We have a happiness crew as well. So that's delegates from each department that come together, and we sort of retro what the last 6 weeks are like, what are the good things that are happening and not so good things, and what are the things that we can collaboratively work on that help improve the environment and the culture that we work at in 383. Creating a sort of a basic learning culture. So were people always absorbed in their jobs, but how do you surface great stories from within the company, or learnings about a particular department or how a project went? So now we do roughly 18 to 20 sessions a year on a Friday morning, and we set up the breakfast session series. And that's an opportunity for somebody within the company to come and present a perspective. And that could be, how this particular, what this particular client relationship is like. So if we've got a relationship that we've worked, we've had with a client for 4 years, we've got new people in the business, how do we expose that relationship and let them know this is how this client works, this is the history of the client, this is the work we've done for them. Or we could have an introduction to a department, or one of the things that we've done recently is passion projects where people talk about their extracurricular pursuits, because everybody's got something, the weird and the wonderful that they do outside of work, and how do we bring that to life? And because people might look at, say, oh great, that person's really into, let's say they're a sketch artist, great, but why are they? What's interesting about what's inside of that person to become a sketch artist? And it gives people that opportunity to get up and talk about themselves. So it sort of ticked multiple boxes. You've got a platform to get some public speaking opportunity. We're creating this sort of ongoing learning culture as well. And we've got something now that's become sort of quite ritual and ceremonial. It happens all the time, and we curate that content. We look sort of 6 months out and start thinking about what it is that we're going to be putting into the pipeline for people to listen to. So, and that's stuck. That's been with us for 3 years now. As you get exposed to a lot more sort of regional press than maybe you do. London's very London-centric. I love London, but it's very London-centric. It's a bubble. I saw something shared. It was shared across to me from the Midlands in Derbyshire, and it was a story of a furloughed worker who's basically turned essentially what is an anxious period into one of like amazing success. So there's this tech company called Serenity based in Derby, and they, like as many companies have had to, they had to furlough some staff, and this young lady was a services assistant. She was one of them, and her husband, interestingly, her partner, her husband worked at the same company, and the CEO asked him to put together something to raise everyone's spirits. So both the people that are working still in the company, because they're anxious, they want to make sure the business is successful, to get everybody back, and everybody that's on furlough as well, because again it's an anxious time. But the husband asked his wife, what does she think? And they actually recommissioned. They brought her back from furlough to work on this particular initiative, which was her idea, which was to create these custom gift boxes for staff, and they're beautiful. They're just made like real sort of thinking of you, quite tailored, and that really impressed me. Not just because of what it's gone on to do for her, but the fact that there was an investment, there was a recognition there, not just in the thought of a gift, but that they felt that to bring somebody back from furlough to do that was important enough. That to me is everything about that company, how important that company saw its well-being, that they would make that investment in a trying time financially. It was yeah, super impressive. And yeah, she's gone on to make it a solo venture. It's called Colleague Box. It's well worth checking out. But yeah, from March to now, turning over 1 million in revenue, which is just incredible. And I love that. I love seeing how a well-being initiative has created something much more positive at a bigger scale for us. One of our values is honesty, and we've got a candid bunch of people who tell us what's working and what's not. And if something isn't, or something's missing that they really appreciated, then we'll look to find a way to reinstate it or re-energize it somehow.